Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
A senior Conservative Party campaign official has been found guilty of breaking election expenses law. It follows a 2-year investigation by this programme, which exposed tens of thousands of pounds of undeclared spending during the 2015 general election campaign in the Kent seat of South Thanet. Marion Little, who was deployed by Conservative headquarters to the constituency, was found guilty of 2 counts of encouraging or assisting the submission of false spending returns. But the MP for the seat, Craig McKinley, was cleared of all charges. Our political correspondent Michael Crick reports.
After nearly 3 months, 40 days in court, at last the verdicts. Senior Conservative official Marion Little was convicted of 2 offences of assisting or encouraging false expense returns to be submitted. She got 2 concurrent suspended jail terms of 9 months, suspended for 2 years. She'd have gone straight to jail, the judge said, had her husband not been gravely ill. But the MP for South Thanet, Craig McKinley, who faced 2 charges of knowingly making false expense declarations, was cleared.
Well, I've been acquitted today. It's been nearly 3 years of pure hell for my family particularly. Been a dreadful time. I think there are questions need to be asked of the electoral law. I think the Electoral Commission needs to get together with the political parties to make sure that never again a candidate or an agent can be accused of these things.
Do you accept that your expenses return was over the limit?
I've got no idea. Not a matter for me.
In 2017, as a result of an 18-month investigation by this programme, the Electoral Commission fined the Conservative Party £70,000 for not accurately declaring its election spending during the 2015 general election and 3 earlier by-elections. In the run-up to the 2015 general election, the Conservatives based here were allowed to spend a legal limit of almost £20 million on national campaigning. But there was a much lower limit for campaigning that promotes individual candidates. And in South Thanet, that was just over £15,000. But the Electoral Commission found, following our investigation, that some of the money that the Conservatives had put on their national spending declaration should instead have been on the local declaration for Craig McKinley. A few months later, after a police inquiry, Craig McKinley was charged on 2 counts of knowingly submitting false expense returns. Nathan Gray, his election agent, on 1 similar charge. He was cleared of all wrongdoing last year. And Marion Little on 3 counts of intentionally encouraging or assisting them. Local spending limits are in place to ensure a level playing field between the candidates, and every candidate and their agent has to account for what they spent in a legally binding spending declaration. Now, the questions that the jury had to consider here were, if the campaign went over its spending limit, did Craig McKinley and Nathan Gray know that when they signed these returns? And to what extent did Marion Little play a role in this? It was this programme that first spotted the Conservative Party had spent around £14,000 at this quaint hotel in Ramsgate. We then revealed that party officials based here, who included Marion Little, appeared to be supporting Craig McKinley's local campaign. But none of these costs appeared in his spending returns. The prosecution said in the last 5 weeks of the election, the Conservatives had not declared or underdeclared up to £46,000, including up to £21,000 on hotels for staff and activists, £11,000 in salaries, and up to £5,000 on campaign material, such as leaflets. Their case, they potentially spent 4 times the legal limit. This story began 5 years ago. UKIP and Nigel Farage were on the march, sweeping up Conservative voters and activists.
Just heading up this way if you want to come.
And even 2 MPs.
UKIP, 16,867.
Great result.
A general election was looming. And in 2014, the Conservatives picked Craig McKinley, who'd once been UKIP leader, to fight the reasonably safe Tory seat of South Thanet in Kent. A few weeks later, Nigel Farage confirmed he'd fight the seat too.
This was Nigel Farage's 7th attempt to get into Parliament. But now that UKIP already had 2 MPs, the thinking was he had to win here to remain a credible leader. As he wrote in his book, The Purple Revolution, if I fail to win South Thanet, it is curtains for me. I will have to step down. If the Conservatives could just win here, some thought, it might finish Farage for good.
Conservative HQ had already helped recruit 24-year-old Nathan Gray as McKinley's campaign manager. A role, the court heard, that morphed into that of election agent.
Hello.
Okay. A job for which he'd had little training. One local approached Marion Little at Conservative HQ in London for help.
And the court heard from the campaign chairman, Tony Salter, that around mid-February he struck an agreement with Marion Little that she would supervise Gray. And shortly after arriving in South Thanet on the 23rd of March, she executed what Salter described as a very English takeover.
A party campaign specialist with huge experience, Marion Little turned up in South Thanet 6 weeks before polling day. The trial heard how she worked from the Conservative offices in Broadstairs. She sent out daily schedules, chaired morning meetings, ordered campaign leaflets and organised staff and volunteers. But none of her cost, including her salary, were declared in Craig McKinley's return.
Hi there, everybody. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you.
On the day Boris Johnson came to Thanet in April, Marion Little was among the scrum. She was there, she said, as part of the party's anti-UKIP team, coordinating the Tory message and big-name visits in 80 marginal seats.
Craig McKinley, I'm my regeneration plan for Ramsgate, Boris Johnson here.
So her costs, she claimed, were part of the national campaign, not the local one.
Circus has come to town. That's right.
But McKinley told the trial that he didn't ask for big names to come to South Thanet, and he thought they didn't aid his election. And Marion Little brought in people from the Conservative HQ payroll to work at McKinley's side.
I'm here, this is outside the local campaign headquarters.
Craig McKinley?
Craig McKinley.
And
Marion Little, over on the edge there.
David Taylor at that time worked for the Conservative Christian Fellowship. He was brought in to win Christian support in the seat. When that failed, Little assigned him to more general work for McKinley.
We were doing a lot of canvassing, a lot of knocking on doors, getting voter intentions from people, but also just making sure that the message of Craig's campaign and the Conservative Party was one that people heard on the doorsteps.
Taylor was paid almost £2,000 in salary by Party HQ, stayed in a hotel for a couple of nights and spent around £500 travelling from London. Unbeknown to him and to McKinley, none of this appeared on the MP's spending return.
So you were working full-time to get Craig McKinley elected?
Without a doubt, yeah. I think the only message that we were putting across on the doorsteps was about electing Craig McKinley as the Conservative Party candidate.
The Conservative Party candidate, 18,838.
In the end, Craig McKinley successfully beat off the challenge from Nigel Farage.
Imposing a suspended prison sentence on Marion Little, the judge, Andrew Edis, said that she had acted dishonestly and prepared an election expenses return that was neither complete nor accurate. Mrs. Little, he said, had been carried away by her conviction that defeating Nigel Farage in South Thanet was an overwhelmingly important political objective, and The judge had strong words too for Conservative Party headquarters. Mrs. Little, he said, had worked within a culture that accepted some of what she did.
The big parties have almost had a truce between them in certain by-elections and certain target seats, that everybody could overspend and that nobody would grass each other up. It's been going on for years. The fact the trial is about this seat does not mean this level of overspending was not going on in many other constituencies, particularly in by-elections running up to that 2015 general election.
He's legged it. He's walked off the other way.
He said, come on. Throughout our investigation, we sought to get answers from those in the Conservative Party involved in the 2015 election.
Marion Little, I wondered if I might ask a few questions about South Thanet.
Those in the constituency.
Mr. Timothy, my name's Michael Crick, I'm from Channel 4 News.
And the party's co-chairman at the time, Lord Feldman.
You spent £14,000 on one hotel.
I'm confident that we've done everything properly and in accordance with the law.
A statement they repeated time and time again. Tonight, the Conservatives welcomed Craig McKinley and Nathan Gray's acquittals, but said, "We are disappointed with the verdicts in relation to Marion Little. There is clearly a need for greater clarity and guidance on the law. We will take further legal advice and continue to meet with the Electoral Commission." This story has made waves. The rules will surely be tightened and clarified further, and political parties, for a while at least, are likely to be much more careful about sticking to the spending law.
Michael Crick reporting.